Oh my goodness. Hello and welcome. I'm Jessica.
And I'm Janae.
And we would like to welcome you to the 1-year birthday party event for the Constellation reading series. We are so happy to bring together these readers, Emme, Lund, Veronica, Sandoval, and Armin, Tolentino. And we're happy to bring together all of you, this audience in this room, and those of you who are joining us via live stream. And we want to thank you for honoring our COVID policy and for looking out for each other. So the COVID policy is masks in this area, and then upstairs, masks throughout. You might be here because you know one of the readers or you know one of us, and that's a great reason to be here. And we hope you come back. We meet every second Thursday of the month, except we have some exceptions. And we're going to try and do better about putting those on the website so you can kind of see them coming up. For February, next month, we're meeting on the 22nd so that we can collaborate with the Tin House Residency Program. And then in March, we have a really special BIPOC adoptee event at Portland Center Stage. Huge deal, and more than 3 readers. They're flying in from all over the country. It's going to be a big, big thing. So stay tuned for details. We are very excited. Tonight is a really special event.
Oh, yes. And before we get started with our celebration, we want to make sure we hold some space to acknowledge the atrocities happening in Gaza and the West Bank. The settler colonial project of the nation state of Israel is not just continuing the genocide against Palestinians, but it's ramping up its occupation. We can't hold an event like this that's about art, creation, community, liberation, being together. It's about love, it's about diverse voices. We can't do this without drawing our collective attention to what's happening to our Palestinian siblings right now. Our hope and intention is that when we leave this space together, that we continue to give our collective attention to our Palestinian siblings, to grieve and to act, and to, at very, very minimum, call for a ceasefire and our country's complicity in this genocide.
And we would be remiss not to bring this message home. As we gather in this space, it's important for me as a settler to remember together that we're gathered on the unceded traditional homelands of Multnomah, Accoma's, Gunwater, Huatlala, Cascade Bands of the Chinook, as well as the Tuolumne, Kalapuya, and many other recognized and unrecognized indigenous nations of the Columbia River. And we say this not as empty words, but as an invitation or reminder to learn more about the specific broken promises on which the city and state rest, and to find ways to concretely and materially support Indigenous sovereignty and return of land. One thing I love about Constellation is that many people approach us wanting to give to it. And if you have the impulse to do that, we are thinking of ways to make it easy for you to put some of those resources toward Indigenous sovereignty and peoples of our area. So we have these QR codes out that will connect you to the Jewish Fund, which gives water for Warm Springs, Chinook Indian Nation support for federal recognition, Native American Youth and Family Center, NIA, Native Arts and Culture Foundation, Native American Rehabilitation Association, so to materially pay. We also entrust in your own resources and situations best. So we wanted to tell also, before we started, the story of our first reading a little bit. So one of the reasons that I started this was just a real desire to gather in space with people and create And it was, we were coming out of a period of more pandemic isolation than we're currently experiencing. And so together we started this, and we really had no idea what would happen. So we had no idea if people would show up. And the thing I will always remember about this is that Junae and I were gathered upstairs. We were like setting up the snacks, and there was a nice crowd gathered upstairs, and we were like, oh, well, there are people here, it's great. And then we came downstairs, and we were like, oh my goodness, like the room was packed, and people kept coming throughout the reading. And it's kind of just gone on like that. The support for Constellation has dramatically exceeded anything I would have imagined for it. So I really appreciate the energy and presence that all of you have brought to this. Just thank you.
And I want to just take a second to talk about what it's meant to me, this reading series. As a budding abolitionist, I'm learning that old institutions, it's about creation and making new things that make the old institutions obsolete. And so building this with so many people has been just a wonderful experience to me of abolition and what is possible when community comes together. So this is like Tin House gave us this space. And we're like, we just want to activate this space for the community. We love our people. Like, let's just bring you in and go ahead and do whatever you want. They're super hands off and give us so much trust and love. Thank you. And then Bishop and Wild, the bookstore, Melissa and Tyler came in, and they have been the sweetest partners. And the same thing, there's just like so much trust and so much love, and work together so well. It's so easy. And then all of y'all and all the people who join us online and all of the readers, it really feels like something that we have created together that shows kind of the possibility of what we can do as a community. So. And I wanted to say thank you to Jessica. So the way this started, Jessica and I have known each other for over a decade. We met because we were teachers at Portland Community College, and then I quit because
why not?
Because although the students at PCC are literally the fucking best,
and many of the people who work there.
Yes, that institution is a little bit of. So I left. But we stayed friends, and we were meeting for coffee and snacks and drinks. And one day I was like, "What do you?" We met in like this was spring of 2021, and I was like, "What are you want to do?" And just kind of want something serious. Do you want some help? And I volunteered to help with this project because I worked with Jessica at PCC for years, and she's so amazing and was so devoted to students and justice and anti-racist education and equity practices and like curriculum reform. It was so easy to work with you, and this experience of doing this reading series with you is just even better. Like, it's so easy to work with her. We just laugh and we're super aligned and have a really good time. So it's just like doing something cool with one of my best friends. And then more people love. So a little announcement. So we are a 501c3 nonprofit now, which is like we talked about it for a while. We weren't sure. We wanted to like be a part of the nonprofit industrial complex and all the blah 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 blah. But it means that we so we have $50 for our readers tonight from the Council, and we're going to continue looking for funds so we can provide some support for artists And then a hidden gem is that we had to create a board. And so it's us, and we're like, well, we didn't want a board, but then we were like, oh, Armin. So we brought Armin on to our board, Armin Tolentino, and Armin like put this together for us and has been working behind the scenes, like helping build programming and like how we want to be in the future. It's so we wanted to thank people about Armin. Sorry, this is like super long. We're talking.
Yeah, we were talking long, but we have a lot of love to give. So thank you for indulging us in this love moment. So yeah, Armin was a reader at our very first reading, and we wanted him to help us launch this series because he's such an important member of the community here and really bringing poetry to people in a way that is like full of integrity. I read at like a Clark County open mic, and Armin wasn't there, but the MC started the proceedings by listing all the things that Armin was doing as Clark County Poet Laureate. And I was like, whoa. This is amazing. Armin is doing like poetry on someone's porch on Saturday. And then on Sunday, like, it was amazing. And very inspiring to me. I've had a lifelong interest in the intersection of art and community. And Armin is such an inspiration to me personally in that regard. And we did an event together at an elementary school not too long ago. Those are kind of difficult to do. Armin is amazing at that. So good with the kids, so good at connecting children and language. And they loved it. They just lit up. So we are delighted to have Armin as part of our board, to have him be part of on our first reading and then part of this event. And we're really glad that he is having a residency at the Carolyn Moore Writers House, which is a PCC connected residency, to focus hopefully on some work.
And we have special thank you for Lance and Melissa. If you two don't mind coming up here, I know Lance, we're making you walk. I know you don't feel super well, but we are so grateful for everything. We just like literally love you as people. They're really good people. Good. And like this is not possible without your generosity. So
it's a new car.
Work on that, great.
And you talk about the best people to work with.
This is the bottom of
In an email that Tyler sent us for the holidays, he said that Constellation really provides a reprieve to think and feel with our community. And that really felt like the best compliment for what we hope to do together. So without further ado, we're going to introduce Emme Lund.
Yay! In my mind, I connect you, and I don't even know if this is right, but I connect you with the time that Lance offered us this space. And I'm pretty sure this one was like, hey, you guys need a space for the reading? So that was also one reason to invite you here. Emme Lund, she, her, is an author living and writing in Portland, Oregon. She has an MFA from Mills College. Her work has appeared in Electric Literature, Time Magazine, The Rumpus, Romper, the Portland Mercury, and Autostraddle, among many other media. Her debut novel, over there, if you need a copy, you can just sign it. The Boy with a Bird in His Chest was longlisted for the first novel prize from the Center for Fiction, was a finalist for an Oregon Book Award, was named Best Book of the Year by BuzzFeed and Portland Mercury, and was included on lists in the Washington Post, USA Today, People Magazine, The Advocate, Cosmopolitan, and Shondaland.
Hi, are we good if I take my mask off while I'm here? Cool. Hi, everyone.
Can we stop for a second?
Yes.
You want to see why you're seeing?
There's two of us.
Take your time.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you, Emme.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Hi. Thanks, Junie. Thanks, Jessica. Lance, Tin House, Melissa, for a while. Yeah, I was actually thinking about it on the way here, and I met, it was at a Tin House reading, and they were excitedly telling me, like, oh, we're gonna, I think we're starting a reading series. It's gonna be here. It's called Constellation. Maybe you'll read sometime for us. And I was like, yeah, sure. And then, what Lund was this beautiful reading series. It was such a fantastic time when I come here. Thank you so much for inviting me, especially to read. I'm really pleased to be here. Happy birthday. I plan on also saying something about Gaza and Palestine, but what they had said was perfect. So I think I will just add that, like all of us, that's it. And food and water, a fucking house to sleep in. All right. I'm going to read from my new novel tonight.
New work.
New work. She's going to my editor in a couple weeks. We'll see if we sell it. It's called We Enter the Circle at Night and Are Consumed by Fire.
Ooh.
That means in Portland in a near distant future, for most healthcare, especially transition healthcare, can only be accessed through labor union health insurance, and the only labor union left is the police union. We're going to start towards the beginning. Two of our characters, Iris and Emme, have decided to rob a police union pharmacy so they can redistribute hormones. I'll start. This section is called Iris. Cannot get enough sleep. Every day she gets up and immediately begins dreaming of bed again, imagines it holding her. Just once she wants to wake up rested, but her phone is a daily stampede of messages. Protesters who need bail support, others in need of fundraising, volunteers who drop out of food bank shifts. Iris fills in where she can, and when her day is over, she still does not find sleep. Instead, her mind invents new worries. She checks her phone in bed, and already more people need her. She sets an alarm so she can get up early and go where she's needed. Now she lies on her bathroom floor, her blood pooling in the back of her head. The concrete is hard against her skull. She sees only one end of the flimsy shower rod, the metal thin and unpolished, and the orange mold spotting the ceiling near the fan. She used to be so eager. When she was younger, she had a running list of goals: move out of her parents' house, learn to kickflip, record a punk album, go on tour, publish a novel, get bottom surgery, write a comic book, fight in a revolution, swim across a lake, do some sort of performance art, have an all-trans orgy. Some of the things she's done, but most remain unchecked. Now she doesn't want any of it, only sleep. Sometimes she wishes the world would just end already. This is what's been promised. Her parents' religion preached that they were in the earth's last days, rapture, enforcement of the apocalypse. Climate collapse has been guaranteed since she was in middle school, the earth eating itself. Now the people who call themselves witches talk of the world ending in 40 years. Maybe the world vanished. She could get some rest. She sits up. Like trains, air lifts. She's woozy. Her bathroom is a sheetrock box shoved in the corner of her otherwise dirty apartment. Toilet and sink on one side, shower on the other. She hates it so much she brushes her teeth in the kitchen. She's on the bathroom floor because when she gets dramatic like this in her large apartment, she feels guilty. And right now, she wants to feel bad without having to feel bad. She will get rest after they rob the pharmacy tonight. Something about the plan, especially coming from Emme, is exciting to her. Emme never comes up with plans. He's always along for the ride, but never the driver. But when he came over last week, hands flicking with excitement, it was infectious, and she found herself dreaming again. Dreaming of moving away from Portland, dreaming of sleeping, dreaming of finding a different way to live life. And the plan comes sooner. It's that time in July where the days stretch thin, wildfires coming too frequently, and even on the clear days, the world is flat, void of sound and color of anything at all. Oh, it's the 4th of July. She fiddles with the rings on her right hand, rotating and loosening them. The thin iron band comes off first, then the brass one on her middle finger, and finally the gold chain on her ring finger. She sets them in the cat-shaped tray at the back of the sink. She takes off her thick gold chain necklace, each of her gold hoops, 5 stacked in each lobe. She leaves the side bathroom and goes into her closet. Despite the heat, she slips into black jeans, boots, and a black hoodie. She puts her glove and mask in the bottom of her duffel bag with the crowbar and bolt cutters. Outside, herds of drunk adults and families shout as they walk towards the river to watch the fireworks show. Boat finds her and weaves his body against her legs. That's her cat. She props up her phone on the table and hits play on Neon Genesis, her alibi. Like there's no way she could have robbed a pharmacy if she was home all night, watching and rewatching her favorite series. She decides her apartment will feel different after the robbery. She'll see it as a place of rest. Once they redistribute the hormones, she won't get out of bed for a week straight. The sky is bright with fireworks and sound when she leaves. Emme sounds sick. They stand at the side door of the police union building, and his stomach turns knots, gurgling. He keeps burping. Jesus, dude, you sure you're okay? She asks him for the 5th time. I'm fine, let's do this. The building is a stout, unassuming creature. It's been here for 45 years. Every other building has grown around it, so now it's surrounded by tall apartments and expansive box stores. It's hard to believe the most powerful group in the city is housed inside. They want to keep it that way, make it seem like they're penny pinchers. Iris pulls out the crowbar and slides it where the door handle meets the jamb. A loud bang erupts a couple blocks away, and they both quake, nerves fried from the constant flashbangs and threat of mass shootings. M spray paints along the side of the building, adding ACAB and Fuck 12 to the already heavily vandalized wall. She takes a deep breath and wrenches hard against the crowbar. She says a prayer that they won't get found out, a bad habit left over from childhood. A firework explodes as the door opens, yelping in pain, a small miracle. They turn on their headlamps and go inside. The front room is sour with anger and resentment, and the way rooms can hold feelings. She lays her hand in front of her face. Fuck, this place stinks. Em lights a Roman candle and points it towards the kitchenette. Smells like a pigsty, she yells. The firework pops and throws sparks against the kitchen cabinets. To the left of the kitchenette is a couch and several old recliners across from a giant television hooked up to several video game consoles. Police department recruitment posters cover the walls, claiming to be the last workforce where you can truly be yourself. The posters are crowded with queer and transcoded cops, with hair long on top, shaved on the sides, small rainbow pins attached to the lapels, and two men in uniform inexplicably holding hands, like they're coming straight from their wedding to work, ready to beat the shit out of the citizens. And rips down one of the posters, a clump of fireworks shoots mortars around the room. Iris moves past the old recliners and through the door into the pharmacy. A long counter splits the room in half, behind which rows of metal shelves march in perfect lines. White linoleum stretches from wall to wall, and one fluorescent light flickers in the back. It makes Iris feel like she's standing on the precipice between dimensions. Thuds pound the walls. She remembers she needs to be quick. She hops over the counter and starts scanning labels. The drug names stretch on for miles, and she remembers the little bit of German she took in high school, while they made up new words by smushing 3 words together. She swipes each row of drugs that aren't estradiol valerate or testosterone onto the floor. Soon she's wading through a sea of boxes and bottles. After each row of shelving has been picked through, she pushes it over. Eventually, she comes across a locked cabinet in the center of the room. It takes 2 clips of her bolt cutters to pop the cheap lock off. Her headlamp reflects off the metal door, light streaming into her eyes. She drops the lock to the floor. She flips open the cabinet. It takes a moment to realize what she's looking at. Dozens of boxes, each striped red, black, or purple. She mutters, "Oh fuck." So many vials that over 30 people will have enough for a year. Excited, she slams her hand on the back of the cabinet, bruising her finger. She sweeps the boxes into the duffel bag, nearly filling it. She feels sick, like how Emme must have felt when they got here. How many thousands of people don't get their medicine because they keep their stock so high? When she bursts into the main room, panting, Emme spirals gold paint along the wall. A small fire gurgles in a trash can. The duffel bag strap digs into her shoulders. More than we thought, she says. They're monsters. She thinks about what that means. Literal monsters, something unhuman in their desire for control and manufactured scarcity. The room glimmers under the destruction. Beautiful. ACAB telescopes along the wall. The trash can fire's flames tickle the side of the desk. The room still smells like anger, but now the anger is sweet, like orange pith. Well done, she says. And laughs, lights a handful of bottle rockets and stuffs them into the crook of the couch. Let's go, he says. Iris never knows what time it is. No internal clock. They stand at the back door for a moment, listening to the outside. No sirens. Someone yells. Could be anyone. There are no windows, so there's no way to determine what waits for them on the other side. She can't stand it any longer. Only way out is through, she says, and she shoves the door open. A bottle rocket zips out of the crack of the couch, and they push out of the stiff room and into the wide night. The lot is empty. They step onto the sidewalk, and Iris thinks she hears someone close the door behind them, but she can't turn around. They tear off their clothes at the truck and stuff them into a trash bag. It feels like Iris's heart might burst, all that tension and anger and fear and joy shoved down her front like an aerosol can. They don't say a word, like if they talk, they'll be found out. The truck starts with a cough, and soon it's wheezing onto the highway. They roll down the windows, letting the air whip around the cab and steal the scent of spray paint and sulfur from their skin. They're flying south on I-5 before they hear the long wails of fire trucks and the quick whoops of cop cars. The fireworks show downtown pops its large finale across the river. Fireworks and sirens swirl blue, red, and green, and white, sometimes purple. Let's stop there. Thank you.
Feel super lucky that we just got to hear that. Oh, no worries. And I'm so excited to introduce to you my colleague, Veronica Sandoval. Veronica has a PhD in American Studies from the School of Languages, Cultures, and Race at Washington State University.
Go Cougs.
Yeah. She is a Chola historian, also known as Lady Mariposa, a spoken word artist and a scholar, and Chola is bolded in the word scholar, from the Texas Rio Grande Valley. She has been writing and performing poetry for over 20 years. Her creative and academic writing has appeared in several anthologies and collections, including Aunt Luke Press, University of Delaware, Lamar University Press, Texas A&M University Press, and Routledge Press. Research and writing focuses on Chola labor, Chola agency, and an emphasis on Chicana feminist epistemology that centers community knowledge and Chicana legacies of resistance. Areas of research include borderland studies, barrio studies, immigration, Gloria and Zaldúa studies, Chola activism, Chicana materialism, Adelita, feminist art, and 1990s barrio print publications. I also just love her poetry. And I am so excited to welcome Veronica to Constellation.
Well, definitely want to thank Jessica for inviting me and to say, okay, here. I always get nervous when I do this, but yo, your recordings are very professional. Like the books are in the back, so I'm like, look good. Let's do this picture.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm a Chicana, as you can tell by my bio. So if you hear some Spanish and you don't understand it, grab your nearest Latino and see if translations. So this first piece that I'm sharing is called Mexico, You Are My Motherland. And I wrote it because I knew since I was working on my MFA in creative writing, I wanted to get a PhD so that I could do a project on Cholas, because Chola identity, Chola resistance was very much ingrained into me, and I knew it was important to write about it. And every time I would tell folks about it, they would be, have you ever read The Labyrinth of Solitude? They would always say that. And I would be like, no, by Octavio Paz, right? He's a Mexican, really well-known Mexican nationalist writer. But I never understood, and I was like, okay, one day I'll read it. So the day that I read it, I realized that Octavio Paz talks shit about the Pachuco, which is, the forerunner to the Cholo and the Chola. And then I realized then that my friends and they are my friends, were Mexican nationals, were pretty much telling me that I shouldn't write about Cholas. And I didn't get it at that time. So then I wrote this poem, and every time I read it, I have interesting conversations with Mexican nationals. So this is my poem, Mexico, you are my motherland. Por un amor, I spent many restless nights, and I have cried gotitas de sangre for you, Mexico. You who have left me with the black and white photos of the charros aventureros, and the elongated necks of eloquent movie stars from the age of corroded nostalgia, swept up in curled updos and wrapped in rebosos. Yo no te ofrezco riquezas, Mexico, and I understand that, Mexico. I was born in McAllen, Texas. I was born Chicana. I was born Americana. I was born an American version of what I would never have become had I been born in you, Mexico. A firstborn girl, child to Marin and Esther Sandoval, farm workers in El Centro Campesino, dirt poor then and still poor now. And when I say I am Mexican, I mean it. I ignore your nationalists that believe that crossing a line for birth disseminates heritage. I ignore your nationalists that believe that I bastardize my mother's tongue. I ignore your nationalists who believe I have no right to intertwine the native symbols and empowerment of your history with my own, because cholos and cholas are narcos and nacas, gutter trash caricatures birth once Mexicans down lost their minds and cross over to America. Pero para dejar el pelo, lo mismo es hoy que mañana. Mexico, you do not own me. Mexico, you do not own my tongue. Mexico, you do not know me. And it has never been about what I mean to you, Mexico, and it has always been about what you mean to me. You carry the images of my mother when she was just a girl. You carry the love of my father on a rancho that would marry my mother and make me. You carry memories of a grandfather and grandmother that I never met. You carry roots to primos and primas who were my best friends when I was in Escuintla. You carry the connections of bloodlines that were intertwined before the erection of fences and the betrayal of treaties. And whether you like it or not, you are my motherland. The passion that lives in me is directly connected to the history I have learned from you. Blame it on my mother. She was the one that always longed for you and her rancho, even after they switched her mica for citizenship. Blame it on my skin, prieta y pobre, lacking the lily white tones that America covets. I always reached out to you. Blame it on borderland Rio Grande Valley, Texas, because life in El Valle always felt like the perfect blend of the two. El Valle, you are the reason why there are no dividing lines in me. You are the reason why I embrace my motherland and my birthland. And Valle, you are the reason why I am not having an identity crisis. So Mexico, tell your nationalists que las apariencias engañan. I am not your bastard child. I am not wayward, classless, countryless, or viewless. I am a hybrid, dehyphenated product of a new creation. I am Chicana, Chola, Pocha, Rascuache. I'm Americana, Tex-Mex, Nepantlela, Anzaduela, Bayuja, and poetry spitting Pachuca. And if I didn't let America beat the India out of me, Mexico, I'll be damned if I let you. And I love my Mexican nationalist friends. So I was that nightmare child that was like the jerk face in the English class because I didn't read. I didn't like to pay attention. I was a nightmare, and I had an English teacher who, knew that I was a nightmare, and I decided to participate in prose and poetry. Remember, like UIL competitions, you would read a poem, and they'd like give you points. And I had selected a poem, right? And I read it to her. I showed it to her, and she realized that I didn't understand what I was reading, and she got on me when I was young. But then I grew up, right? And I decided I was going to be a poet. And I started doing things. And I returned to school because we always return to the schools to do poetry for the high schoolers. And she saw me. And she was like, "What do you do?" And I'm like, "I'm a poet." And she like, "Really? You're a poet?" No, she broke me. And I remember going to the next class and about to do poetry and crying and having to explain to students that what had happened. So I wrote this poem for her many years later. We eventually, made up or whatever, but a war that only she knows. When was the last time you saw mommy smile? I mean, really smile. I read the lines out loud, adjusting timing and delivery for the score sheet of UIL judges. You pull me us outside. You were always angry and never took things seriously. You yelled at a 16-year-old me saying, "This is about child soldiers and death squads in El Salvador. Wake up, mujer. Wake up. Wake up." El Salvador is far away from a 16-year-old Chicana in a border town who ain't never read too much or learned too good. It would have done me good if you had told me why mommy stopped smiling. It would have done me good if you had helped me decipher history poems, poems I found in dusty, forgotten corners of high school libraries and sections no one ever went to read. In the book of Latin American poetry, it is 1992, and I have no idea what Latin America means and where Latin America is. It would have done me good, but instead I read the poem and thought of my mother mad at my brother for not taking out the trash. I thought of my mother mad at my father for talking trash. I would it would have done me good to have known the war you knew raged despite me not knowing. It would have done me good, but good is hard to find in public schools. Good is hard to find when you wonder how I made it into your class. Good is hard to find when you don't know better. Good is hard to find when the only war you've ever known is your own. And no one teaches you the fight is against institutional. The fight is against the patriarchal. The fight is against poverty and depression. Ain't no one teaching those 16-year-old in a border town about the death squads in El Salvador when you are too busy pushing her out of your classroom into a war that only she knows. And now I realize that because this is televised, that maybe some of the folks this is written for will know. I'm going to reveal Princess. Um, so I lived in Washington State for a few years, South Texas, and while I was working on my PhD. So this is the poem I wrote in Pasco. It's called Little Princess desde Pasco, Washington. At the Burger King, Cholo little brothers chase after princess baby sisters to make sure they are safe. Mom explains to the little Cholo that the young man behind the counter who has been playing with him and his sister is not just his friend, but his little Louie. In the distance, the sound of soccer on the smartphone is lost among the morning platicas of two señoras having coffee. Outside, past the 10 nuggets for $1.49 sign, the wind ruffles the shell gas flag as the lone truck driver slowly walks towards the big rig that will eventually carry him home. Cracking his neck and pulling his pants by its loop, the ache in his back moans louder than the roar of the wind bashing the sad-looking trees cemented into the grassy median. As the man and his truck disappear onto the river of expressways and interstates, I learn that the princess' little sister is 5, and she likes to run like nothing hurts and only laughing matters. And into the sun, my aching feet and heavy breasts, the long drive back to a cat named Boots and a paper I need to write. Baby sister, princess, it's true. Nothing hurts that you can't survive. And always remember that when you can, you should laugh out loud, eyes closed, happiness emanating into the wind, dancing and loosing yourself into the river of expressways, interstates, city streets, barrio flower bed, university halls, little princess. Nothing hurts that you can't survive. When I when I read that, I have one last poem. Yeah. This is I had called myself. And I wrote this for an MLK event that I was supposed to read at. And actually, no, I'm lying. This is a different poem. It was actually a protest. Protest. Texas just got its first defense courses to go to teach in high schools, right? And they had said we're gonna call it Mexican American. No, you're gonna ethnic studies of people of Mexican descent. And they were like, no, we want to call it Mexican American Studies. And so it was like protesting the change of name. It's all right. I have called myself. When I was 17, I discovered the poem I Am Joaquin by Rodolfo Corky Gonzalez. After scoring the dictionary looking for words like Nezahualcóyotl and Jacobin Cortez, I realized that the poem contained a history that U.S. schoolings had never taught me. At 17, I called myself Joaquin. At 17, I first called myself Mexicana. When I was 17, I discovered Teen Angels and Lowrider magazine. After inundating myself in these countercultural publications, I learned about a lifestyle and community that I, the Pentecostal preacher kid, living in a border town of Sullivan City, had never heard of. I realized then that La Raza from Calipas was doing things like how I felt inside. I realized then that I was a chola. At 17, I called myself a chola. At 17, I first called myself Chicana. When I was 30, I took women's studies courses in college. After reading about feminist women throughout history, I realized that feminism isn't a bad word. I repeat, feminism is not a bad word. People who trash talk feminists are often men who fear the loss of their power and the systems of oppression, uncomfortable with the critique of their institutions and ideologies. At 30, although I still didn't understand intersectional feminism, I called myself a feminista. When I was 33, I was introduced to Gloria Anzaldúa, and after reading How to Tame a Wild Tongue, I realized that all my life I had been afraid to sound like the India me. My internalized racism had stopped me from knowing and embracing my own people. At 33, I finally spoke my mother's tongue in my poems. At 33, I got real Mexican. At 38, I realized I had gotten wrapped up in all the hype. At 38, I had bought into my own model minority narrative of upward mobility and American exceptionalism. Salvation via the shift from working class to middle class. Salvation via the erasure of all the rascuache and osipona parts that made me me. However, when I learned what I needed to know about my history, I realized their systems wasn't made for someone like me. I realized our community's difference was a strength that could bring about genuine change. I learned that the master's tools have never dismantled the master's house. I have called myself Chicana, Chicana, Chicano, Chicanex. I have called myself a beat and street style poet. Hecha en el valle, de esas las que le encanta andar de la calle. I have called myself a feminista, mujerista, queer ally, and fangirl of la joteria. I have called myself an academic chola, a scholar of cholas. I have called myself a third world and global feminist, and a bandera, an ancestral, a chola profesora, homegirl pedagogy, donde quiera. I have called myself things are names for myself. I have learned to name myself. We must always name ourselves because within our naming come our narratives, come our heritage, come our knowledges, and with these narratives come our truth. There is power in telling our truth. There is power in our own name. There is power in our own narratives. There is power in refusing to let the canonical erase what our grandmothers have already taught us. Because institutional power, fear, connections form through political memories. Political memories chant narratives of the atrocities of institutional powers. Institutional powers fear communities that refuse to appease the status quo. Institutional power fear communities who resist. Institutional power fear communities who organize. Institutional powers fear community who seek to remember their past because they're building a future. Institutional powers have always feared this. Institutional powers have always feared no.
Now I feel guilty that we talked for so long. It's like, no, we want more of you.
Right.
More. Like, don't stop, don't stop. So we are super excited for Armin to bring it home. Armin Tolentino, He, him is the author of the collection We Meant to Bring It Home Alive and serves as the Poet Laureate of Clark County. He earned an MFA in Art and his writing has appeared in journals including Rigorous, Arsenic Lobster, Portland Magazine, and Pontoon Poetry. Outside of writing, he works for Multnomah County supporting social service programs in education, domestic violence prevention, and housing stability. We love you, Armin.
You all hear me okay? Yeah. Can we get another round of applause for Justin today? Happy birthday, Constellation. It takes something to make this happen, right? It takes something, and that's a combination of dedication and most of all, just love. Just love. And the two of them have that by the bushel full. Thank y'all for being part of that. They can celebrate. Man, and Emme and Veronica, oh my gosh. We gotta talk more. We gotta talk more. That was amazing. We'll read some stuff. Forgive the barbarian. On the occasion of company mandated mindfulness training. Inhale O2. Exhale CO2. Inhale O2. Exhale nitrogen. Trace noble gases. Inhale O2 and sticky spores. Inhale the grappling hooks and landing gear of influenza. Exhale the threat. Exhale the future. Inhale right now. Inhale mindfulness. Exhale your skepticism. Exhale your attitude. Inhale your feet planted firmly on the floor. Exhale the warm room, your sleepiness. Inhale, because what else would you be doing right now? Exhale the foolishness that there is something more pressing than breathing. Inhale the appreciation of each breath. Exhale in gratitude for breath and everything else that never seems enough. Inhale a mantra for the moment. Exhale the editor that tries to excise earnestness. Inhale and visualize the barbarian. Exhale and forgive the barbarian. Exhale and forgive the barbarian. Inhale. Again, don't stop. Inhale. Exhale and forgive the barbarian, the miscreant, the underachiever, the coward, the embarrassment. Exhale every name you call yourself. Inhale because. Exhale because don't you hold enough inside already? Inhale your brokenness, stripped of chainmail, but also breathing. Exhale the fortress walls. Exhale the guards. I've been thinking about mindfulness a lot. I'm thinking about it because I'm quite untethered from every facet where I'm supposed to be grounded. I'm also thinking about it because I had the great privilege of serving as Poet Laureate of Clark County for a few more weeks. And following in the great pathway that Gwendolyn Morgan and Christopher Luna paved for me in this role. And one of the main things I do is do generative writing workshops for various communities. Just drop-in ones. I do some also for like a retirement community. I've done them for the juvenile detention in Clark County, and I'm asking them. These are people who may not actually like poetry or writing. I'm just there. I'm not charging them anything, so it's like I don't feel bad about it, but also like, they don't necessarily want to be there all the time, especially juvenile detention. They don't want to be there. But all to say, I'm asking them to be present with a piece of blank paper and a writing utensil, and I'm saying just write. I'm not even telling you to write a poem because they're like, oh, am I supposed to write a poem? I don't know. I just want you to write. I want you to be present to observe whatever's in your head in that moment, and I want you to use your language and put it down without judgment. Oh, that's hard, right? And then, when am I hit the ball? When am I thinking ahead? Went like this. Was like, is this good enough? And so, if I'm to honor what I've asked those folks to do, then I should be willing to write whatever's in my head without trying to figure out where the end is of it, without starting with the end, and just say, hey, what are the words, and then what can I make of these words? So I hope the pieces today speak to that, and I'll try not to do too much injection between. But this one I think is useful just because it's a vocabulary thing that you can share with your friends, and that's okay. The word manchineel is the world's deadliest tree. So if you eat its fruit, you'll die. If you touch it, it'll burn you. The sap is deadly, or it is very caustic. And then if you burn it, the smoke will destroy your lungs. Manchineel is a very deadly tree. Pretty metal. Manchineel door. I hewed the manchineel into a door. For years, my fingers wept. The sores closed in winter, then blistered fresh each spring. I chose the only wood I had, which was no choice. For years, my fingers wept. The poison slowed, but never dried in the dead wood of the door. Rain would wake the sap. I kept it closed then most of my life, which was my choice. My sores would burn just looking at that door. The ghosts of all those dead years, like sap in the rain, rose to haunt the threshold. I could have left the door open or had no door at all. Years came to their close. I had no choice but live with what I chose. I usually like making shit up. I like using my imagination. Like having weird creatures and like little goblins showing up in my writing. That's my comfort zone, hanging out with them goblins. But I'm gonna try to read more autobiographical pieces to you all. So I'm gonna wrap up with some poems that are all interconnected. As far as the content warning, they involve the loss of a child that my wife and I experienced in the past. So just take care of yourself as is useful for that. Had you made it what I would have taught you? The jab is a range finder. The scout you deploy to close space for your cross. Count one, jab. Count two, right. If it never lands, it's done its job regardless. It closed the gap. Life is simply a grab bag of varied sized gaps through which you could stumble or whole body plummet if you don't learn to close them. If you always choose to jab, you'll break your hands. Your chest will break with regret. Thread and staples are gap bridgers too, as are poems, whiskey, the words, I'm sorry, a fistful of daisies plucked from the causeway. The whole learning is knowing when to use which. Jab, thread, kiss, prayer. Prayer can bridge the gap or float above it if impossible to mend. Trust me. As a child, I prayed every night, then stopped for nearly my whole life. Today, I stare down from the cliff of that immeasurable distance between us. And before I could let myself fall, I prayed your name, and I swear, I felt your tiny fingers stroke my ear, urging me, step back, please. Because you taught me there are chasms which I have no earthly way to close. There's nothing more to do but step back. 1, 2, and catch my breath on whatever precipice of my world appears least broken. No vocabulary for you. The word omphalocele means when a fetus's organs grow outside of the body. Omphalocele. Omphalocele. She had no choice. She traded her cord for an open door to God. She traded the pool of her mother's womb for the atmosphere. My broken baby was a milkweed pod split open too soon. Her organs light as feathered seeds. When it was time, all the parts of her caught the wind, airborne, effortless as ash. Each winged tuft of her held a separate wish, none of which were hers. She carried those wishes for others. My broken baby, this body of yours was a hollowed pod, scooped out canoe, too tiny to carry everything you were. You journeyed through the amniotic into the sky to navigate the border waters that divide two worlds. Because you will land first. You sow the garden of the next world. So when your mother joins you, you'll stroke the worry from her brow. You'll say to her, rest first. Eat first. There's so much time now. Donation. Would no one want my child? Would no one use her eyes so fresh they never opened for us? The dewdrop of her liver, couldn't it cleanse an ounce of bad blood? Ferry you safely through a poisoned night? She came to us a gift unwrapped, her parts spilled out and cooling in the air. The doctor says no. Nothing of her is salvageable. All she can be is ash. She rests in a box I never open. There's no need She arrived open, exposed. She kept nothing for herself. So still she gives. The ash smudged on my conscience, our second smaller beating heart. No metaphors. Your skin started flaking those final minutes I held you. I sang you a song I could not finish. The lyrics curdled in my throat. There was much more we could not finish. You were drying out in the hospital air. You were flaking away. No one asked us to leave. We could have stayed until morning. We could have stayed with you all the days it took for you to shrivel entirely and flake away. It was finished. The song I sang was finished, no matter if I wanted it to end then in that way, cracked mid-verse and muffled with sobs. That day, which was not your birth, but the only day we could hold you, scant and lifeless, before letting you go. That day would finish as all the days before and after. We went home without you. 5 years on. Where are we, my darling? Which corner of the sky should I train my gaze and wait for the dust of you to circle back again and wave? How cold it is, you alone circling and circling, colder than your face against my cheek, dried, your loose skin peeling against the hospital air. Isn't it windy outside your mother's womb? Isn't this world one that cools us too quickly? You, darling, curled fingers, curled arms, cradling the sack of your organs that could not withstand the whirlwind of your genes, stirred up too much, such storm. A full circle to return to a day that is not your birth, but the only moment we would ever hold our own child. One day to cling to as my memories evanesce and lose shape. Today, I think you are closer, maybe just above the tree line. Today, our orbits cross again. Do you see this dull glow on Earth with both arms waving, cheering you on for the second you are once again visible and take shape in my memory? As distant as you are, if you circle back each year, it's proof something is still holding you here, that I'm still holding on. Gravity is the faith that falling one day stops. Gravity is the knowing that what turns away surely comes back, even if it's not in my lifetime. Thank you all so much.
you everyone for being here with us tonight. Eric Tran is reading with us in February. As well as some really exciting Tin House residents whose names I have not
Not so bright.
And Jorge Oyedeji.
Yeah, we're super excited for next month's event. And we also have some cake upstairs and snacks and drinks. And if you're able to join us in the mask optional space, we're happy to see you there. We also have books. Emme's Boy with the Burden Chest. And Armin, we hope to bring it home alive. So, again, I just can't thank everyone enough. And I'm going to just get off the stage because I feel really lucky to have been here.